there should be more children car seats in cars, right? And some people have said that that was a mistimed quote, has stricter enforcement. But do you think that the timing could have been a little bit better on that statement?
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
What is the best timing to say it? My statement is not published in full. We want to cut down on government costs. The cost of one physical card is almost 10 to 15 ringgit. That we are paying.
Yeah.
Right? So every time we issue the card, we are paying to the printer.
To the supplier.
Okay, to the supplier. Okay, printing, we save more than 100 million a year right now.
What?
Hello guys and welcome to this latest episode of Siapa, Makan, CIli with me, your host Iqbal and...
Chuck, hi guys.
And today we have a very, very special guest. In fact, we have probably the most questions for any particular guest on this one. And that is the Minister of Transport, YB Anthony Loke.
Yay! Who is not just the Minister of Transport, but also the Secretary General of DAP. And as many of you know, is also the grandson of Yisang. Although, according to the podcast that you did before, no, you're not claiming, right? You're not done claim on that, right?
Sorry?
You're not done claim on like...
No, not really.
Yeah. It's just that to your earliest memory, that was the what? I have a personal question for you to start things off today, which is that I purposely picked this image of you because very rarely we can find a picture of you smiling, you know. All the picture that I found on social media, you're very angry, you know.
Not angry.
Why?
Like, angry ke kecewa?
I'm just being serious.
Sebab your role requires seriousness or?
No, Minister of Transport deals with a lot of serious matters. Road safety, accidents, aviation, maritime. So I have to be serious.
Betul. And I guess speaking about serious topics, antara serious topik adalah belanjawan, which recently just passed. And I think maybe if we can start off with that. We last week had belanjawan, and just off the top of my head, some of the announcements that were made in that budget, 4.1 billion for a landasan kereta api connecting Bandar Tasik Selatan to Seremban. We had 26 new coaches for LRT Kelana Jaya, 200 million for bus routes in Johor Bahru, and might be some other things I'm forgetting. To your knowledge, apa from budget yang mungkin ramai orang tak tahu tapi you rasa ini adalah suatu benda yang patut diketahui oleh orang ramai?
I think of course banyak yang perlu diketahui rakyat apabila belanjawan dibentangkan. So belanjawan tu kadang-kala I think people think at the big figure kan, tapi you have to put it into context. Macam 4.1 billion you katakan tadi kan, daripada Bandar Tasik Selatan ke Seremban, that is the entire KWDT 2 punya projek pemuliharaan landasan, what we call the Klang Valley Double Track Rehabilitation Program. Untuk rehabilitate dia punya railway track keseluruhannya. So bukannya satu stretch saja, bukannya 1 tahun, dia akan mengambil masa bertahun-tahun untuk disiapkan. So walaupun nampak figurnya besar untuk satu projek, tapi dia mengambil masa 7-8 tahun untuk disiapkan. So bukan sekaligus 1 tahun pakai 4 bilion. Umpamanya 200 juta untuk bas berhenti-henti, itu untuk seluruh negara sebenarnya. Bukannya satu Johor Bahru saja, dia untuk seluruh negara. So kadang-kadang ramai yang tak faham konteks belanjawan ini. Dan dalam ucapan belanjawan, dia kali ini hanya 2 jam. Dan sengaja Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim selaku Menteri Kewangan, dia tak nak satu pembentangan yang terlalu panjang. Sebab pernah, budget speech pernah sampai 3 jam pun pernah. Jadi banyak yang dia rumuskan. Dan banyak perincian sebenarnya dia tak sebut dalam masa ucapan. Tetapi belanjawan ini besar sebenarnya. Dia punya perincian. Tapi it's impossible. Within 2 hours you can deliver everything. So banyak yang perincian-perincian itu yang perlu dibahaskan masa dalam parlimen. And that is of course the media's responsibility to go through the details, to report it. Jadi banyak benda yang sebenarnya dia tak dibentangkan ataupun tak dinyatakan, bukan tak dibentangkan tetapi tidak dinyatakan dalam ucapan. Yang sepatutnya juga perlu kita wawarkan dari masa ke semasa. Jadi banyak orang berkesimpulan, mengapa ini tak cakap, itu tak cakap, ini tak ada peruntukan, itu tak ada peruntukan. Umpamanya My 50, orang tak tanya. Ada juga tanya. PN tak sebut My 50. Adakah next year My 50 ada lagi atau tidak? Jawapannya ada. So those who are using public transport in Klang Valley, you will continue to enjoy a very affordable monthly pass.
Okay, so I have a two-pronged question. The first one is, you're one of the few ministers to have worked under 2 PMs from the PH side, right? So you worked under Mahathir first and then you worked under Anwar. How's the difference in style between these 2 PMs from your knowledge?
Of course, it's very different style.
Okay.
PM, of course, the current PM is a bit more relaxed.
Oh, okay.
You know, he will sometimes joke about things and all that. It's not doesn't mean that he's not serious about his work.
Okay,
but,
okay. Just to clarify.
he will crack jokes sometimes. Mahathir crack jokes as well sometimes, but when he crack jokes, he won't smile. It's always a poker face. Mahathir is always a poker face.
Right.
But we have two very different personality. But both of have their own strength and weaknesses.
And then the second prong of the question is, dari segi like big picture lah kan, what is your overall strategy for transport, the future of transport in Malaysia? Before we get to all the questions that all our readers have had, maybe it's good to introduce them to that first.
One thing when you talk about transport, you have to know that transport encompass and involve many sectors: aviation, maritime, public transport, land transport. So when we talk about transport, a lot of people just tends to look at MRT, LRT, public transport. But that is not the overall picture about transport. So transportation portfolio, these three main pillars, as I mentioned, maritime, aviation, land transport. So if you talk about aviation, then you have to talk about not only our airlines, about our connectivity throughout the world, our airports development. Then maritime, you have to talk about our ports, which is important for our trades, for our export import. Land transport, of course, cars, public transport, e-hailings, taxis, LRT, rail-based and all that. So overall, our vision is to have more people taking public transport. That's why we are investing heavily on public transport. We make it very affordable for people to take public transport. And that I'm sure the policies will continue in terms of supporting people to take public transport. The entire ecosystem of public transport have to be expanded and enhanced. Not only the network, but in terms of the usability and as well as the integration of public transport in big cities such as in Klang Valley. And secondly, we also have specific policies to push the movement of cargoes, movement of goods from road to rail. That means we want containers to be moved more by rail than by road. So that is
why? May I ask? Is there a
simple reason?
More efficient?
Efficiency.
One is more efficient. Secondly, is more environmental friendly.
Okay.
Imagine one locomotive, you can tarik 50 wagons, for example.
Yep.
Then you take off 50 trucks from just one locomotive.
Yep.
So one locomotive, you pull 40 to 50 containers.
Yep.
Then you are taking off 40 to 50 trucks from the road.
Yep.
And then
Correct.
in terms of road safety, it's much better.
Yeah.
Because if you can reduce the number of heavy vehicles on the road, you can reduce congestion and you make it safer for motorists.
Do you have any statistics of what you've achieved with this?
Right now, we are still quite low in terms of the utilization of railway network. But we have plans to push it forward.
Okay.
And bila
Both
sebut low
paket
tu,
TMB.
Bila sebut low tu berbanding dengan negara-negara jiran ke macam mana?
Berbanding negara jiran, berbanding Europe, of course, we are low. We have not fully utilized our railway track. All these are legacy issues.
Okay.
When we have to push for more, for example, more usage of railway track, then you have the problem of lack of locomotive, lack of wagons, so you lack of infrastructure, which we are all addressing right now. Secondly, of course, we come maybe in 2 years' time, we will have a big boost because the entire East Coast Rail Link will be completed. That will be a big boost in terms of moving to rail.
And so this was one of the things that came out in the budget a lot about the lemon car thing. Maybe, I mean, we understand it, of course, but maybe if you were to explain it to the average person, they say like, kenapa ada like kereta limau suddenly, maybe just explain in as simple a way as possible how this affects.
Maybe can you just put in your context first, what is your questions about?
The question is, the question is basically how this law affects the average Malaysian in terms of making it better for them to actually buy a car now.
But lemon law, I think is more that one is all under KPDN. It's not so much under.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, okay,
It's
interesting.
more consumer rights.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll move on, no problems.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I might not be in the position to answer you on that.
Yeah, I think it's for the best then.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't realize that was under KPDN.
So we did put out questions,
Yeah.
call outs to our readers and our
Okay.
viewers to ask questions that they would like to ask you. And if we can just start with some of
Okay.
the first few.
Yeah. So I think from our experience, this was the most questions we've ever received for anything.
For any guest
Yeah.
that we've ever had on our
Alright.
podcast.
And I think it's because transport is something very near and dear to all Malaysians.
Like
Yeah,
semua orang
everyone.
ada pengalaman
Kan.
guna
Yeah,
jalan
everyone,
ataupun
yeah.
naik kereta ataupun naik.
You ask about education, maybe only students. You ask about, economy, maybe only economists and businessmen. Tapi transport
Yeah.
semua orang kan? Okay, so let's talk about the first one.
Sure.
Yeah.
You pick up the questions and then we'll
So
try to.
from Chrisan Ling, what are practical approaches to handle motorcycles rising on highways? So the issue she bangkitkan adalah motorcycle lanes tak diguna walaupun ada. Nombor kedua, motorcycles mengguna highway secara percuma walaupun kereta-kereta kena bayar untuk guna highway. Dan ketiga, ada tak apa-apa plan untuk restrictkan penggunaan highway oleh penunggang-penunggang motosikal?
Let me put in context first. Sebenarnya we don't have a motorcycle lanes yet on our highways.
Yep.
Okay, sebab lane yang paling kiri tu is actually an emergency lane. Okay, which of course used by motorcycles. So dia bukannya dedicated motorcycle lane. Of course, kalau kita punya vision nak have dedicated motorcycle lane, it has to be separated from the car lanes.
Macam federal highway lah.
Ya, macam federal highway yang ada.
Kan? Yep.
Sebahagiannya,
Yep.
but it's not.
Sebahagiannya sahaja.
Just sebahagiannya because you have to, certain areas you have to come out and go back in and so on.
Yeah, remerge.
So dia memang konsep macam tu, where you have in federal lane you have a tembok,
Yep.
penghadang, where you separate the motorcycles and the cars. That is motorcycle lane. From the MOT point of view, memang kita nak benda tu. Memang kita nak kalau boleh semua highway kita ada motorcycle lane. Sebab itu kalau ikut semua aktivis road safety, that will be the best way in terms of separation motorcycles dengan kereta. Dan dia boleh mengurangkan
Tapi
kemalangan. Halangannya ia cost. Okay. Yang keduanya ialah sebab kita punya highway dah dibina sejak 80s and 90s. Kalau plus sejak 90s.
Yep.
So pasal tu tak ada design tu, tak ada motorcycle lane.
Yep.
Yang ada hanya emergency lane. So kalau kita sekarang nak pasang tu, kosnya memang agak tinggi lah.
Yep.
Tetapi memang itu perkara yang sering kita bincangkan dengan Kementerian Kerja Raya untuk lihat bagaimana kita nak laksanakan motorcycle lane tu. So in terms of long term goal, that is what we want. Dari segi Kementerian Pengangkutan memang kita menyokong penuh ada motorcycle lane ini. Sebab ini akan sudah tentu dapat mengurangkan risiko kemalangan.
Tapi macam mana berlaku like lebuh raya persekutuan yang paling lama ada motorcycle lane, tapi yang plus yang lebih baru tak ada?
Itu saya tak boleh jawab lah. Ketika plus dibina tu saya bukan menteri lagi. Saya masih
fair enough.
macam saudara saya masih, kalau plus tu masa saya dalam sekolah menengah lagi.
Okay, fair enough. Then we can move on. We need to move on quickly. So many questions.
Yeah.
Same. I think
sama.
many people kind of, there's a lot of ill will towards motorcyclists, and we have been seeing more and more kind of road traffic.
But yes, it's a real question which I acknowledge. It's a real problem that we have to find a solution on how to ensure the safety of both the motorcyclists as well as the other road users.
Tapi pada pengetahuan YB, how are we berbanding dengan negara-negara jiran contohnya?
Memang di negara ASEAN ini kita dari segi penggunaan motosikal antara yang tertinggi lah.
Yep.
Dari segi kadar. Of course negara-negara ASEAN kebanyakannya penggunaan motosikal yang tinggi. Kalau di Thailand is the same, Indonesia, Vietnam memang penggunaan motosikal tinggi. Tetapi kita punya masalah kita paling besar ialah kadar kemalangan jalan raya melibatkan motosikal itu 2/3 of our fatal accidents are actually motorcyclists. So
And
that is a big problem for us.
Is that not the case in our neighboring countries?
I'm sure it is the same
Lebih
case
kurang
as well.
sama lah.
Lebih kurang sama di Thailand juga, masalah sama, kemalangan banyak melibatkan motosikal. But one thing good about us is that our usage of helmets are actually one of the highest. Okay, if you look at Thailand for example, the usage of safety helmets is quite low.
And then our type of helmets, the SIRIM approved punya helmets tu agak ganas lah compared to negara-negara lain.
Tapi soalan ni dia punya segi is a little bit different. It's about the racing and the illegal motorcycles and that culture, especially on highways, especially at night. You always see them. Is there anything being done about that right now as well?
Memang in terms of enforcement is ongoing. Yeah, enforcement just as recent as a few days ago, a few hundred motorcycles were detained by the police. And this is a menace that we face on a weekly basis, even sometimes on a daily basis, right? Especially during weekends, you will see certain parts of the country, especially where you have very nice and very straight highways. Those are the locations that you will always have this mudroom pits.
Yep.
So it is a big problem. How do we enforce? How do we more enforcement? But enforcement is one thing. It's the culture, and also in terms of the education. How do we do it? How do we go about it?
But speaking about the culture, and to some extent, I've personally experienced this as well, that there's a perception, at least, motorcyclists get off easier than car drivers when it comes to accidents, when it comes to things like that. There's a perception that the police are a little bit more forgiving of motorcycle drivers. Do you guys have any data on this?
No, I don't think so that they are more forgiving.
Okay.
I can't speak on behalf of the police because police comes under the
obviously.
Home Ministry. But I think that the operations are ongoing. The enforcements are ongoing. I, for one, do not think that they are going soft on just motorcyclists.
Okay.
Okay, so to your knowledge, persepsi tu mungkin
Persepsi sahaja lah.
Yeah.
Okay. This sounds...
Ni soalan yang agak teknikal, YB. So David tanya kenapa commercial vehicles tak boleh tint diorang punya tingkap.
Yeah, before he answer, I actually researched this. They can tint, right? According to my research, they can tint.
No, commercial vehicles not yet. No.
I went to the website, they said that they can tint to they cannot tint at all.
No.
Zero.
No. So far, dia tint punya for private vehicles, we are very clear.
Yep.
In terms of the regulations. Tingkat depan berapa, tingkat belakang, memang you boleh hitam semua lah, gelap semua pun boleh.
Yep.
So commercial vehicle dia ada rules yang berlainan lah, sebab dia kenderaan public. For example, bus. So buses umpamanya, I think the argument for that, which the thing in terms of government departments, the argument for that is that you have to know what's happening inside the bus.
Yep.
Sebab dia juga ada risiko. Katakan you bus, kalau ada apa-apa penculikan dalam bus tu, then nobody knows if everything is tinted. Whereas it's a private vehicle that is, the risk is lower.
So commercial vehicles is zero tinting allowed.
Yep.
But then all the buses that we ride, the express buses to Singapore, they're all tinted. Right?
So that means they are not following the regulations.
Every bus I've taken to Singapore is illegal.
So that's why in buses, I think they have this blind inside. So,
but I've seen the tinting anyway.
Okay, but so the point yang David's making here is that the bus workers should have some level of protection against.
Well, of course,
UV
this is
and things.
ongoing. We will review it. It's not that we cannot review all these policies. As far as I can remember, the major review of the tinting policy was done during my time in 2019, 18 or 19, during my first stint as a transport minister, because that was one big change that I made at the point of time. Because before this, a lot of these issues of tinting. So people came to me and they said that it's not practical. So if you do not allow tint, for example, it's a mockery. Because, for example, those who bought imported cars, you bought a Alphard or you bought SUVs, you came in with tinted glass. So for those imported cars, when you came in, you need to go and change. You need to do your interchange. Okay, you need to do your inspection. You need to go to Puspacom. So the moment you go to Puspacom with the original window, you will not be passed. So what happened is that there will be accessory shops nearby the Puspacom having this service of calling that sewa setengah hari. Sewa cermin setengah hari. That they will change for you with all the normal glasses, normal windows. They go in for inspection, pass, came out, put back the original one. So I said it's a mockery. Right? So then I asked my officers, what is the standard, UN standards? What are the standards in Japan? And most of these imported cars, for example, they came in from Japan. So Japan is very known in terms of safety. So as I said, if Japan allow, why can't we allow? So as a simple logic of that, I changed the policies. So allowing those at the passenger side. Even that, of course, there are people who oppose it. People criticize me also. So what happened inside? You don't know if somebody robbed the car, somebody, some criminals inside. My argument is that if a criminal wants to do crime, they won't bother to follow your regulations, right?
They'll find a way.
Yeah, they will find a way. No, they will just tint the entire glass, even if you don't have that regulation. So I changed that, allow it according to certain international standard. Actually, it's almost like a Japan standard lah. So following the Japanese standard, where you allow the entire tinted glass at the passenger side, at the back, at the rear side. Then front drivers is 50%, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, 50%. What they call that? There are certain lights can come in 50%. And then at the front window, that one is of course you have to follow certain percentage.
I'd like to ask. So again, this is your second stint as transport minister. Masa your first time though, how much of your focuses day to day were informed by apa mungkin your civil servants were kind of bringing to your attention versus apa yang you sendiri nak bawa kepada your role versus now? Benda tu adakah lebih kurang sama your first stint dan sekarang ataupun ada perbezaan sikit?
No, of course kita ada juga benda yang kita buat based on the policies that we want to pursue or along the national transport policies. Tapi ada juga banyak yang daripada feedback orang. Feedback orang ramai, what we sometimes what we see on the social media, what we see on the ground, what we heard from the industry. So we do changes from time to time based on the feedback. So it's not static, especially transportation policies, regulations and all that are not static. So this is very, very dynamics because it changes all the time. Because the condition change.
Yep.
So you cannot be static. Certain regulations dated back maybe 30, 40 years ago. Which if nobody pointed it out, then it will be there.
Continue, yeah.
Yeah, it will continue there.
Yeah.
So, but when questions are asked, then we will think, we will rethink. Is it necessary?
Yeah.
Do we need to change?
Like the commercial vehicle tinting.
Like the tinting.
Yeah.
And all these are actually part of what we call regulations. In the land transport, we have a mother act called Akta Pengangkutan Jalan. Akta 333. That is dated back 30, 40 years ago. But under the Akta, you have a thick book called Kaedah.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of details are in the Kaedah, not the Akta.
Yeah. Okay.
The Kaedah are the regulations, are the bylaws.
I see.
So the bylaws can be changed actually any point of time.
Right.
So the bylaws are within my power.
With a simple majority. Without,
No.
Yeah.
Like
You change the act, you need to go to parliament.
Yep.
Okay?
to change the bylaws?
But the bylaws are within administrative. So it's by the minister's power.
Oh
Right.
wow.
So
Okay.
a lot of changes. First thing I will ask my officers, are these bylaws or Akta Ibu?
Okay.
So Akta Ibu, of course, it will be a bit more complicated. You need to go through the whole process to
First
change
reading,
the
second
law.
reading, third reading, yeah.
And it's not as simple as that. Before you go to parliament, actually a long process.
Yep.
Internally,
ESC.
you need to go through your policies review, and then you need to go through cabinet, you need to go through AG chambers,
Yep.
and there are a lot of workshops have to be done, even if you make just a minor change. Because you go through the entire legal process.
Yep.
So that will take up, if you need to go to parliament, sometimes it will take up, at least 6 to 12 months.
Yep.
But a bylaw, for example, Kaedah. A Kaedah, I can just actually discuss it at a weekly meeting. I said I wanted this to be changed. So the bahagian darat will work out a policy paper, and then together with the agencies, and then go through our PU, penasihat undang-undang, our legal advisor, and then bring it to me to sign. Then after I sign, it can go to Gazette.
Can you give an example of a
I
bylaw?
was just gonna ask.
That maybe.
Tinting, for example, is
Okay, so
bylaws.
that's a bylaw. That's not
a
okay.
bylaw. There are many bylaws. If you
And breaking those bylaws sama macam
it's part
undang-undang
of,
Malaysia
the
is
bylaws are actually part of the law.
okay.
It is part of the law.
Okay.
Okay, for example, clear example, the display of your cukai jalan, lesen kenderaan motor (LKM) in your window,
Yep.
in your cermin kereta.
Dulu physical.
That is a bylaw.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that is said that it must display. So the moment I change it, tak payah display.
Okay. Because before if you didn't have your physical road tax boleh kena saman whatever tapi
So sekarang tak payah. Sekarang kita kata kita buat digital road tax, digital punya LKM, and then that sticker is only to remind yourself. You tak payah display lagi dah.
Yeah.
Tapi ada orang lagi dia kata, oh tak payah, kalau tak display ni menyusahkan, saya pula lupa. So
yeah.
macam-macam lah, sebab macam-macam kaedah lah yang kita perlu layan. Ada kata, oh kalau saya letak tu hodoh, tak cantik, saya punya kenderaan tak cantik, mengapa dulu saya buat pertukaran tu? So ada orang kata, ini tengok ni stiker, ini cukai jalan punya stiker, cepat rosak, lekat saja, dah tampau dah, tak cantik dah, dia punya kualiti tak baik, tukar, kalau nak tukar nanti saya punya tinted pula tertanggal.
Yep.
Macam-macam komplain lah.
Yep.
So saya kata okey lah, tak payah letak lah.
Okay.
Tak payah letak, kita buat digital. Ada juga orang marah saya.
Okay,
Dia kata
so-
tak lekat sana, saya lupa bayar cukai jalan.
Buat satu benda orang
Guys,
orang
Google
petikai,
Calendar,
buat lagi
Google
satu benda
Calendar.
orang petikai. So I guess this particular and the reason I asked just now, how do you decide what things to focus on or how you make certain decisions on what bylaws to pass or do away with? Samantha asked apa rationale bergerak dari the physical driving license and road tax kepada digital one, and you mentioned earlier digitalization and the fact that we can't
What's the
static.
rationale?
Yeah.
Then why you should ask, why should we go for e-payment? Why should we go for e-wallet?
I
That
guess-
is part of the entire digitalization. Of course, we are actually ahead right now.
Yep.
Okay, we are ahead in terms of digitalization. Some other countries have not picked up as fast as we are. Okay, but we are not saying that you cannot have a physical license if you need to. you can still have a physical license.
Yep.
If you need to go to other country, but having a Malaysian license, I mean, not everyone will need to go overseas to drive. We don't deny there are teething problems which we will rectify. Any policy change will have some impacts or some teething problems which we recognize. We are not saying that the moment we change, okay, this will be the thing that we will not change all over again. Okay, definitely we will improve from time to time. Sometimes we do a certain process, digitalization, for example, the question just now. It will be very troublesome for people to get physical driving license to prove and all that. Fair enough. It's a very fair criticism. I told my guys as well, why you want to make it difficult for people to prove? Cool. So right now we are changing the policy again. We are changing certain things again, not to say changing policies, but to improve it. For example, those who want to have a physical card, you just pay for it.
Yep.
Okay. So we are going to allow this very soon. Okay. I will go make an announcement soon. Those who want to have a physical driving license, you can have it, but you have to pay for it.
Can we quote you on this?
Yeah, you can quote it.
There we go.
Yay! Is that our first announcement that you've made?
Yeah, because they complain. You go to JPJ because firstly, why is it? Okay, we want to. I mean, our big theme is that we want to avoid wastages. We want to cut down on government costs. Okay? The cost of one physical card is almost 10 to 15 ringgit that we are paying. Right? So every time we issue the card, we are paying to the printer,
To the supplier.
to the supplier. So we want to cut down that cost. So that's why when we go for digitalization, we save a lot of printing costs. And we plow back to the public. We say that, firstly, if you pay up to 10 years, we give you a discount of 10%. Okay? You only pay 270 ringgit for 10 years, which were not allowed before my time. It was only 5 years. Then again, I changed that from 5 to 10. Also based on public feedback. They said, 5 years too short.
Right.
Can we have more certainty? We can have 10 years. Then I changed it to 10 years. Itu kaedah lah. Pertukaran kaedah tak payah pergi parlimen. I boleh tukar tu. 5 to 10 years.
Are you guys keeping a list like Elon Musk does? Last time his Ministry of Efficiency, right? Of all the savings that you guys have made for the Ministry of Transport.
Well, some of the big figures we can
Okay.
tell.
Tapi yang
For example,
kecil-kecil.
printing. Okay, printing we save more than 100 million a year right now.
What? 100 million just on printing.
Printing of physical driving license and the road tax. You think the road tax you don't have to pay, right? The sticker. The sticker.
No, 100 juta.
100 million.
Yeah.
We spend more than 100 millions just on printing of this stuff every year.
One printer went out of business.
Because you have to remember how many drivers do we have out there.
Yep.
We have easily 15 to 16 million active drivers out there right now. Yang ada bayar lesen lah. Okay? Baru ni kita baru tahu ramai tak bayar lesen. Sebab Budi 95 punya hal, dia orang complain. Oh, sekarang saya tak bayar lesen tak dapat ini subsidi. Dia kata itu tak boleh complain. Nah, you punya salah. Kan?
I have a nuanced question to ask on top of that. So you save 100 million on printing. How much on the app cost and the development cost and the tech cost?
Of course, the apps. I don't have the full details right now.
Yeah.
We need to spend from the savings. Of course, we need to further boost our digitalization
For the first year.
For the first year.
Yeah.
But overall, in long-term period, it will save the government.
Okay.
A lot of costs.
Okay, next question is about all the fines. I actually was very curious about this, but we actually did an article about this, where all these fines go, and it's a police fund of some sort,
adakah
right?
benda ni bawah jurisdiction polis ke ada?
No. You see, kita ada dua fine, ada dua saman.
Yeah.
Ramai tak faham ni. Ada saman polis, ada saman JPJ.
Yep.
Okay. So dulu ni memang dia tak integrate. Polis dengan JPJ ni dia dua agensi berlainan.
Okay.
Polis bawa KDN.
Yep.
Okay. JPJ bawa Kementerian Pengangkutan. So, polis dia adalah agensi penguasa. Okay. Akta yang dia gunakan ialah Akta 333, Akta Pengangkutan Jalan. Akta Pengangkutan Jalan tu membenarkan dua pihak menguasakan undang-undang ini, iaitu polis dan juga JPJ.
Oh, okay.
So same offence, it can be both fined by a policeman or a JPJ.
Or twice.
Cannot be twice. Cannot be double jeopardy. If you the same offence, katakan benda yang sama, you
Speeding.
tempat yang sama, dia tak boleh dua kali lah.
Okay.
Tapi kalau dua tempat lain, itu itu berlainan.
Yep.
Yeah? Because the principle of you cannot be double jeopardy, right? But in terms of fines, no, fine ini ialah dia masuk hasil kerajaan. Again, a lot of people do not understand the entire government structure. Whatever government receive goes into a consolidated account. Account hasil disatukan.
Okay.
So account hasil disatukan tu masuk dalam account semua hasil kerajaan.
Yeah.
So Kementerian Kewangan lepas itu dia akan dapat hasil tu, baik cukai persendirian, cukai syarikat, cukai jalan, saman and all that is part of the government revenue. So from government revenue, akaun hasil disatukan, dia akan allocate kepada kementerian-kementerian. Sebab bukan semua kementerian ada hasil. Ada kementerian yang tak ada hasil. Umpamanya Kementerian Pendidikan. Dia tak ada hasil sebab kita bagi pendidikan rendah percuma kepada kita kena bayar gaji guru, kita kena bayar gaji di sekolah dan sebagainya. Pertahanan, okay, what kind of revenue can you get from army, right? But you need a defense forces to defend the country. So that's why there is this concept of consolidated account. So semua hasil itu dimasukkan dalam akaun hasil kerajaan. So akaun hasil kerajaan itu baru diperuntukkan kepada kementerian-kementerian yang berlainan. Okay. Again, on this particular thing, this particular question about fines. Okay. So right now kita memang ada bincang sedikit dengan Kementerian Kewangan. Boleh tak sebahagian itu kita kembalikan kepada kempen keselamatan umpamanya. Okay. Which of course Ministry of Finance considered. For example, okay, after what we have been lobbying, what we have been advocating, for example, in the recent announcement of budget, there were allocations to install solar lights, okay, lampu solar along our highway. That is part of what we have advocated for. Because we told MOF, okay, apa yang kita kutip ini perlu dikembalikan kepada isu keselamatan jalan raya. We caught people speeding. You know, this year alone, after we give a special rate, I would not use the word discount, but we use the word special rate from 300 to 150 ringgit. Guess how much we have collected up to now for the first 10 months? Have a wild guess.
In fines,
In fines. Just 150 ringgit. Awas fine. Just for JBJ, not including police. What's your wild guess?
$100 million ringgit.
More than 120 million.
Oh my god. Okay, I was going to guess double-digit million.
But still a lot yet to be collected.
Wow.
So I will make a public appeal that this special rate is only up to end of this year. Because we will have a new policy moving forward next year, which we will, together with KDN, we are going to cabinet for joint paper to decide on a new policy of our saman.
So just to clarify, right now the summons are going to the central government little kitty box, right?
Yes.
Tapi what you're asking for is to separate it and put it into.
Not to say separate. It's just that what you allocate back.
Kembalikan sikit.
Okay,
allocate back for certain purposes.
Okay.
Especially on road safety. For example, on highways, we want to install more
solar
lights.
cameras. Lights.
Solar lights.
Yep. And then less potholes, please.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so this one is about the tolls, lah. Okay,
again, a lot of people also misunderstood. I have explained many times on this. Toll is not under Ministry of Transport. I always got these questions.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I do not want to answer, but I just want to explain the context that a lot of people thought that the entire highway are under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Transport. It is not. So highway is under the jurisdiction of a highway authority. The highway authority, Lembaga Lebuh Raya Malaysia, LLM, Lembaga Lebuh Raya Malaysia, is under Kementerian Kerja Raya.
Oh, Kerja Raya,
Yes.
Which is JKR. What used to be JKR, KKR. Yep. But federal, the ones that are not tolled are under you guys. Are there any toll highways under you guys?
You see, the separation in Malaysia is that roads are under KKR. Maintenance of roads are under KKR, under Jabatan Kerja Raya.
Okay.
So maintenance of roads is not under the Ministry of Transport. Ministry of Transport responsible for registration of cars.
Yep.
Okay. And collecting road tax. So the road tax does not goes into JBJ account. It goes to the account hasil disatukan.
Yep.
So, but maintenance of the road are under JKR.
Okay, so my question changes then. Is this a standard practice for most countries to separate road and transport? Because as far as I know, they go together, right?
Well, different country has different system. Okay?
Yeah.
You have, Public Works Ministry is actually quite normal in many places.
Yep.
In many countries. For example, in Japan and Korea, okay, they have a few portfolios coming together under one ministry. What they call as MLIT, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport.
Okay.
So everything comes together.
Yep.
There are countries who actually come with 2T, Transport and Tourism. Okay? come with one ministry. So it
wow.
depends on respective government.
If
so
it were
there
up
is
to you,
yeah.
would you put these two under the same portfolio? Because it's a bit strange, right? It's like you are in charge of the students, but you're not in charge of the school. You know?
Well, this is a structure that we inherited
Yeah.
for many years. Of course, it's not easy to integrate it immediately.
Yeah.
But longer term, what we are working on is more collaboration
Yep.
and
More
more
cohesive.
coordination.
Yep.
Okay. So what we are hoping that it can lead to is more coordination. So this concept of coordinating ministries is important. So we have yet to have that right now. But
Yep.
I mean, we have been suggesting and pushing that there's more collaboration between ministries.
Okay. Good to know.
To your knowledge,
Yeah.
are you able to answer some form of this question with regard to the tolls ke?
Okay.
Itu memang bawah bidang
Okay, I mean,
KKR.
okay, why do we pay toll when there's traffic jam every working day in our highways? Okay, the simple question of that is that the highways are built by concessionaires.
Yeah.
They are built by the private sector lah. Okay, so the private concessionaires, of course, when they build the road with the aim of collecting tolls, because they need the toll collection to recoup
Repay.
their investment.
Yep.
Okay, so these are all privatization model which we adopted in the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
Okay. Because government does not have enough fund to build so many highways. So the highways are built by private concessionaires with the aim of actually recouping the investment. Some highways can recoup, but not every single highway can recoup their investment, to be very fair. I mean, over a period of time. So that's why they need long concession. For example, I think this particular person mentioned about Lekas.
Yeah.
Lekas is to be honest, is a loose-making highway right now.
Yeah.
It cannot recoup in terms of even covering.
Not even covering maintenance.
Sebab kurang orang guna ataupun
Because it's normal times is kurang.
okay.
I use Lekas all the time. Just to go back to Seremban.
Yeah.
Okay? I know. I mean, Lekas is one highway you will never have jam. One,
Yeah.
right? You will never have traffic jam. Because the number of cars there are quite less.
Yep.
Right now, it's only increasing during weekends.
Yeah. I want to move on to the next question, but I also have a request. Can you ask the guy in charge of RFID to fix it, please? Okay, that's all. That's all I want to say. Okay, we can move on now.
Again, RFID is not.
Yeah.
Oh
my
my
jurisdiction,
god,
okay?
man! What a failure. Anyway, sorry, I'm taking my own personal, Yeah. Okay. So we had a reader, A. De Laurentiis,
Okay.
who asked multiple questions about
All focused on pengangkutan tepi dari konteks luar bandar.
Correct.
Yep, good.
Yeah. So let's tackle this as a whole, because there's a lot of questions. Even if you go to the next slide, also there's even more questions about.
Tapi you started off our discussion today kind of giving us a framework. You have to think about maritime, aviation and jalan.
Yeah.
Is there a further breakdown of how to think about pengangkutan dalam bandar
Memang
dan keluar bandar ataupun
Yeah. But you also mentioned earlier that you had a focus on cities for now. So is this concern warranted about rural development?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
Okay? Because public transport in rural areas basically is almost non-assistance. Okay? The problem is that it's economics. Okay? A lot used to be a lot of our public buses, or what we call bus berhenti, are run by private sector. Okay? So used to be private sector. So from one place to another. But over time, most of these private operators cannot survive. So they have closed down. Even with the support of government, we have a program called ISBSF. So ISBSF is actually a subsidy scheme to help the private operators to survive based on non-economic conditions. For example, if they serve the rural areas, they cannot recoup by their bus fare.
Yep.
Okay? So we give them subsidies. But even with the subsidies, they cannot survive. And more of these private operators are actually closing down. Okay, not to continue to operate, because firstly the number of people using it is less and less, and they cannot cope
Why
up
is it
with
less
their
and less though?
migration, right?
Okay.
Most of the rural areas, my state constituency is in Jelebu.
Yep.
It's a rural constituency. It's a very simple signal is that you look at the number of students. Okay? The school's population is coming down. There are some schools are actually less than 100 students.
Okay.
Okay, I have a few Chinese schools there. So some Chinese schools, less than 100 students.
Tapi, if you guys don't arrest this problem, then it's a decentralization issue, kan?
No, because you see, it's not that we totally ignore it. We still want to keep certain services running. As much as possible, we want to serve the areas where we can. Okay? That's why we have, under the Ministry of Transport right now, there are two programs for buses.
Yep.
One is called SBST. SBST is basically a contract of services paid entirely by the government. Okay. So we pay the operator. Okay, you run this particular sector or this section based on the number of frequencies that we wanted. So based on a fixed contract. So those are the operators where they can survive because there's no risk for them.
Yep.
They are already, all their risks are already been taken. So, but we can only do so much right now that we only implement this at the state capital.
Okay.
So by this year, almost all state capital are covered.
Okay.
Okay? All state capital are covered right now, including Kanga, okay? Including Kota Baru, Kota Terengganu. All these are covered right now with a program called Bus.my. So this Bus.my is one of our signature policy, where right now we paint the entire bus into pink. So it's a pink buses everywhere in the country.
Government
Every
run
state
lah.
capital. It's not government run. It's a government paid services.
Okay.
So we appoint private operators. We open tender. The private operator will come and bid. Okay. Based on this requirement, we said how many buses we need, how many routes we want to cover, how many frequencies. So they will calculate. We know how much we have a budget. Then they bid for it. So based on the open tender process, they win the contract. Then they have to purchase the buses.
Yep.
But we will pay them
Yep.
based on a 5 years contract basis, monthly payment. So with that contract, of course, they have no risk. They will invest into buying buses and all that. And they can go to the bank with the contract. I want to loan this amount of money to buy buses because I have a contract with the government.
Yep.
So these are workable. But you see, our challenge is that I can't cover every part of the country.
Yep.
Because even with this, just the state capital, excluding Kuala Lumpur, excluding Penang, already 200 million. Okay? If I were to cover every single district in the country, probably I need 2 billion, which I can't get the budget.
Yeah.
So
So
let's
slowly right now, we are pushing this more and more.
let's try and get a macro perspective here.
Yeah.
What is the total budget allocated to the Transport Ministry this year? And what are the biggest items on that budget? Going back to the budget question.
You see, my budget for Ministry of Transport is about 600 billion.
Okay.
600 billion, of which about 4 plus are for development. Okay. So
Maksud development?
MOT is one of those that you have development budget higher than your operating budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Budget, there are 2 components of budget.
Yep.
One is what they call OE, operating expenditure. Operating expenditure means that you have to pay your salaries, your emoluments, your services and all that. Okay. The other one is development. Development means that you build, for example, under our ministry, you build railway tracks, you build, you purchase train sets, you purchase for example, ETS.
Yep.
So all that are under development.
Like this pink bus thing would be under development, obviously.
Yes, this is under development as well.
Yeah.
That's
not huge.
There's 2
though.
components.
So say 2 billion, and then this project is already 200 million. That's 10% of your budget gone already.
Yeah.
For just the bus program.
Yep.
Okay, so what is the biggest chunk out of that development budget right now?
The biggest chunk is always railway track.
Okay.
Railway track is very expensive.
Yep.
Okay, to build railway tracks. So you see, even though I mentioned just now, there are 3 components. Aviation right now, more and more, we have taken care by the private sector, or what we call MHB.
MHB,
Okay, even though it's not totally private, it's still government owned. But you see, we want to push that model that they can survive on their own. They should invest more on airports because that is a revenue generating
Right.
entity. Airport, for example, they collect the passenger service charge.
Yep.
And it's a revenue generating entity. So we want to push that responsibility to them that you have to invest. Based on your revenue, based on what you make, you have to reinvest back into the airport. So airports right now, we have more or less taken care more by MHB. Only certain small airports, which is not economical viable,
Yep.
then the government will fund it through DE. Ports, for example, we don't spend money on ports because all the ports,
Taxes.
all the ports are run by private concessionaire. For example, Westport.
Yep.
Westport is going for major expansion, but we don't need to spend money on Westport because Westport is run by a private company. They have the concession, so they reinvest back based on their revenue, and we give them a concession, a certainty in terms of how many years that they can run.
Right.
So ports, airports, we don't really spend a lot of money right now. What we spend more is on railway track.
Got it.
Railway track is because there's no private sector wanted to invest in railway track.
It's not cost effective.
It's not viable in terms of your commercial basis.
Yep. You got to connect one end to the other end, and in between all those ends is non-revenue generating.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, that's pretty clear. There's also a specific question about tourism with regards to tourism transportation. To tourist spots. Are you guys working on something along those lines as well?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, in terms of developing more transportation to tourism spots. And also, for instance, like I know there's an issue with jams in Cameron Highlands. That's one that's very obvious. That's under your purview, right? Those kind of things as well?
Well, you see, a lot of things have to be driven by the private sector also.
Right.
The government are not able to provide all the services. So, for example, if there are tourism spots where you need transportation, the private sector can always come to apply license for that. Okay, if it can generate revenue. Yeah. So, what our contribution will be in terms of our network? For example, right now we are completing our ETS from Kuala Lumpur to Johor Bahru. Okay, by end of this year, just within 1 or 2 months, you can take a train, ETS train, okay, from KL Central all the way to Johor Bahru. So along the way, you will pass by small towns, Segamat, Labis, Kluang, and all that. So these are actually can generate tourism as well. Okay, so it can help tourism as well. So all the big projects that we have done is helping tourism as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess if I may then just linger on that point a little bit. Dari segi contohnya bila kita sebut pasal investments into pengangkutan awam dan nak menggalakkan lagi ramai orang mengguna pengangkutan awam, ada tak pecanggahan dari segi contohnya dalam bajet kita juga Perdana Menteri juga ada allocate contohnya insentif subsidi untuk kereta private. Does that kind of at the same time you're encouraging private ownership of vehicles and at the same time you're trying to say we want to encourage more public usage of transport?
It sounds contradicting, okay? But you have to understand, as I said, I have addressed these questions before. Firstly, in terms of our industry, we have automobile industry. Okay? We have a national car, we have a Pro Dua, and we have Proton. So we do not discourage people buying car.
Okay.
Put it this way, right? Certain governments, certain countries, they totally discourage people buying car. That's why they will have a lot of very high taxes. We have the special charges for people to own a car.
Okay.
So wow, we don't really do that.
Kita tak nak ambil
Kita
jalan
tak ada dasar yang kata kita menghalang orang beli kereta. As long as you can afford, you need a car, you can buy a car, right? So and the government actually make it very easy to own a car.
Not cheap though.
Even though it's but relatively it's cheap compared to other countries, right?
Okay.
Say for example, you compare to Singapore, it's
yes,
much cheaper here, right? Or even many other countries. But we do not have this policy of discouraging people not to own a car.
Sure.
Okay? So, but at the same time, you have to understand a lot of people still depends on their private vehicles for their mobility, because we are a semi-urban areas. There are a lot of semi-urban areas.
Yeah.
Okay. While we want to continue to encourage public transport in big urban areas, there are a lot of people who depends on private vehicles for semi-urban areas too.
Okay.
So for the short term, right now we are still doing this together.
Yeah.
Encouraging people to use public transport, but at the same time, the fuel prices are still affordable. Because the fuel prices are very sensitive on many things.
Yeah.
The moment katakan you imagine, kalau katakan kita RON 95, katakan
Remove the
saudara, you bayar 260.
Yeah.
Sudah tentu saya tengok hari ni tiap-tiap minggu ada demonstrasi lah kan Malaysia ni.
Yeah.
Kan? But after we come out with the Budi 95 program, almost like right now about a few weeks already, not much chances.
Yeah.
Right? Sebab dia menjaga, yang pertamanya menjaga kebajikan semua orang.
Yep.
Okay, semua dapat certain quantity, 300 liter. Yang keduanya ialah dia juga menjaga in terms of kadar inflasi, which we are very sensitive. The government is very concerned about that.
Okay.
Because the moment you raise the fuel prices, we know that there will be a knock-on impact on other things. So this is a balanced approach that we try to take.
So may I then sum up what you just mentioned and correct me if I'm wrong. So you're saying kita tak boleh nak go all in on pengangkutan awam and terus macam discourage the usage of private vehicles because there are all these different interests and kind of considerations, how it affects orang luar bandar, how it affects fuel prices contohnya, and how it will affect everything else, knock-on effects yang kita kena prihatin pasal.
Precisely because, as I said, kalau kita katakan kita ada dasar, okay, kita naikkan harga minyak umpamanya, of course people will be discouraged to take their private vehicles. Kalau naikkan harga minyak, for example, sudah tentu the correlation will be penggunaan pengangkutan awam akan meningkat. Akan terpaksa.
Yes.
Tapi pengangkutan awam hanya di Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
dekat luar bandar, dekat semi-urban area, dekat Sabah Sarawak, macam mana pula?
Yeah.
So we are not, kita bukan satu masyarakat yang dia pukul sama rata, kan? Or semua sama keadaan dia. So we have to understand the different context and different condition.
Is there a discussion for a restricted zone in KL?
Oh, I think all these are already, all these studies have been made. To be honest, we have multiple studies, we have multiple reports, even congestion charges and all that are all there. It's a question of whether or not it's practical for us to implement. The Prime Minister has made a statement to say that at this moment we are not considering congestion charges because our focus is still to make it, to make our public transport more integrated first.
There's a question here from Hasbi. He asked, when are we going to mandate universal access for public transportation? And itu termasuk untuk mungkin golongan-golongan OKU, dan mungkin juga termasuk orang-orang luar bandar.
And mandate maknanya termasuk dalam akta lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would that entail? Like, do you understand this question?
Which one?
The last one at the bottom.
Left. When are we going to mandate universal access for public
universal
transportation?
access, of course, in terms of access right now, we are also very mindful in terms of access for the OKUs, for example. So that's why all our new train stations are designed that it has to be OKU friendly.
Yep.
There must be lift, there must be escalator, there must be the sign for the OKUs. So in terms of that, we are already doing that. But as I said, it's not comprehensive enough yet.
Yeah.
I mean that because, for example, KTM station, these are legacies. Okay?
Yeah.
We have stations probably more than 100 years ago or 50 years ago. So there are stations probably that you cannot even have the same platform, same level of platform. For example, those days you have, even now, especially in the East Coast, you still have platform which is actually lower than the train level. So you have to climb up the train. So kalau benda macam tu, kalau keadaan macam tu, of course it's not OKU friendly. If the OKU cannot climb up. So our access is that it must be platform dengan train tu sama rata, that people can just push through their wheelchair inside.
Let's go into the big one now, the one that obviously has been part of the recent news, right? About the issue of the lorry crashing into the toll gate. So there's a number of questions on this, obviously. So why not we just tackle this issue first? Sure. The first one is, how do you guys plan to regulate heavy vehicles that cause major accidents? I think that's a common one. Maybe you can address that first.
Well, there are multiple policies and initiatives that we are working on. The last 1-2 days, you have seen that we have mentioned that we are going all out to have enforcement on overloading. So overloading is one major problem of heavy vehicles. They carry what they're supposed to carry. They carry more than supposed what they carry.
So more random inspections?
More inspections and stricter enforcement. And then not only in terms of fines, but we are also telling them if repeat offenders, we will suspend their license, we will even revoke their operating license. So there is a very strong message going on that. Secondly, we are working on compulsory refresher courses in terms of defensive driving. So right now, we do not have this compulsory courses for defensive driving. What we need is just an e-license to become a heavy vehicles driver. So, but in other countries, they have this defensive driving courses where you specially train them, and you have to refresh the courses. Right now, our policy is that the moment you get an e-license, you can drive forever.
For life.
For life. Anytime, right? As long as you renew your license.
Is there an upper age limit for commercial drivers right now?
Not really.
So if you're 85, you could still be driving a 10-ton truck through toll gate?
Well, basically, we do not limit in terms of the license age yet.
Right.
So we do not have a policies to limit the age of the drivers yet.
But now what you're doing is a refresher every, how often?
This, we are still working on the details yet.
Okay, I think that would be good.
We want to work out on the details. That means you have to have a refresher courses. As I said, what we want to change the profession is that it has to be more safety minded. Okay. For example, if you are a pilot, you need to go for refresher courses every now and then, every 6 months or 12 months. You need to go back to your classroom. You need to go back for refresher courses. But drivers don't have this kind of condition.
Commercial drivers.
So we want to, commercial drivers. So we want to have this put in place. And then in terms of speed limitation device, we have make that compulsory.
Okay.
That you have to limit the speed of the commercial vehicles. So all these are big challenges that we have to face. To put in the changes and to put in the requirements.
Who's paying for that?
The private sector have to pay for it. The operators have to pay for it.
So that would make you not very popular among operators.
Again, I mean, I mean, this is not about popular or not being popular. It's about safety. It's about whether we can save life. So as I said, transport ministers not only in Malaysia, actually transport ministers in any country is one of the toughest portfolio because every day, you number one, you cannot please everybody. Whatever changes that you made, there will be certain people who will support it or certain people who will oppose it. Of course, when we put more stringent condition, the operators will make noise, increase their costs, increase their time. They have to comply more and all that. But if you don't do that, it will be a menace. It will be a problem for the larger public. So my decision making has always been, what is the larger interest?
Okay. So we obviously have to ask about the statement that you made that has been making the rounds on social media, which is that you took that opportunity to say that there should be more children car seats in cars, right? And some people have said that was a mistimed quote. And I agree with you 100%. I think that there should be more child seat laws in Malaysia, and that we should have stricter enforcement. But do you think that the timing could have been a little bit better on that statement?
Well, let me ask you. What is the best timing to say it? There's never a good timing. Okay? Certain things, if people do not want to hear that, whenever time, people will not hear it. Right? My statement is not published in full.
Okay.
Firstly, when the questions was asked to me to respond to that incident. Firstly, I said condolence to the family. Secondly, I mentioned that the operators must have the responsibility to check their vehicles all the time, not only 6 months once inspection. Okay, I've mentioned that, but unfortunately, these are the things that the press will not publish it. The media will not focus on that. They focus on just one of my remark that you say that the baby was unfortunately thrown out because the baby was not in a child seat. The toddler was not in the child seat. So I take that opportunity to remind the importance of child seat. Not to say that I put the blame, and I make it very clear. I'm not blaming the parents, but this is, I said, is a reminder for everyone that, of course, the fault is on the driver who crashed the cars. But if you have a safety feature there, probably life can be saved. I cannot guarantee that the toddler will be safe, but at least there is a safety feature. But again, I know this kind of remarks sometimes will not go down well with people. People, of course, we have.
But it is your job to say it.
As a politician, we have many enemies out there. We have our political enemy who will drive that kind of opinion, who will ensure that the negative perception, the negative opinion will be the mainstream on social media. But to me, if such an incident, I do not make the reminder, I will fail in my duty. Right?
Fair.
So it is not. It's not said that I'm being insensitive or being indifferent to the sentiment or to the feelings of the family. Of course I do. And I make it very clear. Condolences to the family. And I say I'm not blaming the family. I'm not putting the blame on the mother. I say it's a sad incident. Whoever in that condition or in that place will be very sad. But again, as I said, safety feature.
I guess if I can zoom out, YB, can you run me through your thought process with regard to how you see your role? So dari segi, it can't just be putting out fires macam okay ada kemalangan yang berlaku maka kita kena settlekan isu ni. Ada windows yang tinted kita kena settlekan isu ni. You're not just seeing things piecemeal. I'm sure there must be a larger way you're seeing your role, but what is that larger framework you're operating by? What's your guiding North Star as the Minister of Transport of Malaysia?
You see, the over guiding is at number one. You need to change the safety culture of the public.
Okay.
But safety culture, what is a safety culture?
Right. It's quite big.
So it is many details, many things that number one, the operators, they must comply. Okay. We have many regulations, many policies in place. How to make them comply? Okay. Users, simple thing, put on a seatbelt. Right? How do you change that culture? Why front passengers, mostly people will comply. But even that, people will put dummy, right? Dummy buckle, to avoid wearing the seatbelt. How to change that perception? Okay, that a seatbelt is for your safety. It's not just to comply with the regulations. It's not just to when there is a policeman out there, you put on your seatbelt. So as I said, these are ongoing efforts to change the perception, to change the culture, to understand that safety is about yourself. It's not about the government. When we put in safety regulations, safety features, it's not about government. It's not about the law. It's about yourself. It's about your life. So that perception, of course, guides us in what we do.
Okay. When can the public expect to see these stricter enforcements come into play, including one of our other fans mentioned background checks on lorry drivers, and then you mentioned the weight checks and that kind of thing. So just to manage the public's kind of expectation on this very hot topic right now, right?
Enforcements are ongoing.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, enforcements are ongoing. I mean, especially the last 1-2 years, we have stepped up on enforcement on many things. The overloading I mentioned yesterday, immediately we start special operation throughout the country. It's not that we don't do operations before this. A lot of people say, oh, right now only you do this operation.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't do. It's not that we don't enforce. It's just that we step up the enforcement when we have special operations, special focus on certain areas.
Yeah.
So all these are actually ongoing. Enforcements are not piecemeal.
I think that's one of the worries that personally that I have also with regards to some of these issues is that when they're hot, we'll do something about it. And 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line, we won't do them anymore and we'll be back to the same issue. How would you address that concern from the public,
How would
which
you
is
make
very
sure
real?
that the change you make
Correct.
is long-lasting and sustainable?
So you say things like more frequent checks. Yes, that's a directive from you now, but is that a directive from the next guy?
That's why I make it as a policy.
Right.
I make it as a policy. If let's say you
In the
have
bylaws.
you have, firstly it's a policy first.
Okay, yeah.
There's a policy then guiding the agencies. Then this is the SOP that you have to make. So JBJ and APAT, for example, have to integrate in terms of information. So over time, we want to make this integrated into our data information. Right now is that they have two separate systems, for example, and then they have to generate the report, give to APAT, then APAT to take action. So over time, we want to make this as a permanent solution or permanent policies. Then they have to integrate the action. So all these are, of course, you need to make it as part of policies, part of regulations. And as I mentioned, then, for example, SLD, as speed limitation device, is part of the regulation. We changed the regulation.
Yep.
On car inspection, how do we ensure that there will be more stringent measures on car inspection? That we have to make it as a policy and regulation. So we have to change the bylaws.
So for instance,
this
can you
is
give me an
something-
example?
The moment you make, that will become a more permanent kind of regulation.
So when you say more stringent inspections, can you give us an example of how the policy has changed?
We are still, for example, right now on brake failure. For
Okay.
example. They have certain standards right now, certain percentage of your brake efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now we are reviewing whether that percentage is enough.
Right.
Whether that is international standard. Whether that is, we have to go beyond international standard right now. So most of the time, our standard is just that maybe we take the minimum, bare minimum of
Yeah.
international standard. So right now, as I said, we have to review that. We have to go at the best practices. What is the highest standard that we have to adopt? So those are the things that we are reviewing.
I guess YB, so if you're saying contohnya safety is your guiding
Yeah.
principle, but then where does it leave stuff? For example, this questionnaire asks about the airport oversized baggage yang tak berfungsi kat KIA dah beberapa tahun. And itu bukan soal keselamatan, itu lebih soal kecekapan. So kalau keselamatan adalah your guiding principle, where does that leave benda-benda yang mungkin tak ada kaitan dengan keselamatan?
Of course, in terms of our land transport, public transport, these are safety is one important feature. But Ministry of Transport is also an economic enabler.
Okay.
The other important role that I always look at myself is that we are economic enabler. So we have to prepare the infrastructure. We have to make sure that our policies and our infrastructure can help the country to grow economically. Okay. So those are the things where we related to airports, ports, and all that in terms of policies, in terms of our network, in terms of connectivity, all that are important for our economic growth. Things like this is basically operational.
Okay.
You don't expect a minister to go and ratify oversized baggage belt, for example.
Right.
These are the responsibility of the operator.
Yeah.
So our role is that, of course, it's not to say that I just push away all these questions.
Yeah.
I receive emails on a daily basis. I receive messages on a daily basis. Okay. If even the display board is not working, people come to complain to me.
Yeah.
What I will do is I will forward it to the
relevant,
MD, to the person in charge. So, but these are operational issues. So a lot of people cannot differentiate what is operational issue, what is policy issue. The role of policy maker, minister is a policy maker.
Yep.
Okay, we are not operator.
Yep.
I can't be handling all the operational issues myself. So, for example, okay, you say that people whack me on aero train, for example. Okay, a lot of people also don't look at it at the context. I know there was an answer in Parliament just 2 days ago. In 3 months, the aero train were down 19 times.
Yeah.
Of course, the numbers looks big.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving excuses to the contractor. We are equally unhappy with the number of times that it broke down. But you have to look at the context. Over 3 months, the aero train carried 5 million passengers. Okay? 99.2% of the time, it is working well.
Okay.
Okay? But I know public perception is that people do not look at if things run normally, nobody will praise you.
Yeah.
Nobody say that well done. Nobody will say that time's up for you. No. The moment one incident or one breakdown, everyone will jump on you.
Okay.
That is the reality of life.
So let's take an example of this, okay?
But this again, as I said, it's operational issue.
Yeah.
It's not a policy issue. I'm not giving excuses, but operational issues, of course, we have to improve it. That's why, from a ministry point of view, how do we monitor them? How do we make them more accountable? That is my role.
Yep. So for instance, would it be in your purview to put a KPI on
Yes.
them for failure rates?
Yes.
Okay, so that is an example of
I
something
give an
that
example.
you put. Yeah.
Okay. LRT,
Yeah.
MRT. All these services are run by Prasarana. Okay? Prasarana is a GLC, it's a government company. But they are operator. Train not working or downtime, breakdown. Of course, the accountability lies in the management of Prasarana.
Correct.
Okay? But of course, people will blame the Minister of Transport, which I have no problem with that. Okay? Of course, I have to answer also in Parliament, in public. What I do is that we make them accountable, and the certain KPI I put in place. Okay? We implemented this, what we call the MKBF, mean kilometer before failure.
Okay.
2 years ago. So what I did was, I gave Prasarana, CEO, to sit on my post-cabinet meeting every week. So every week, the CEO has to come to Minister of Transport, sit through the meeting. At the end of the meeting, he will present a report, the weekly report. What I want to know, throughout the past 1 week, what is the average daily ridership across every line? KJ line, Ampang line, Putrajaya line, Kajang line, monorail. All these lines, how many average ridership every day?
Yep.
This one KPI. Secondly, is there any failure? Is there any breakdown? Okay. So if the breakdown, you have to answer why, what caused the breakdown? What are the mitigation things that you have done? We have the reports are so detailed. Even how many light bulbs are not working. Okay. How many toilets are not working? How many escalators are not working? Remember 3 years ago? Okay. LRT, most of the escalators are not working.
Not working.
The escalators not working, leaking, light bulbs not on. So my first act when I came back as Minister of Transport, I put on my cap. I went to a LRT station.
Yeah, we saw the pictures. Yeah.
Why I did so is to send a very strong message to the team
Yeah.
that this is my priority. Okay? Even though it's an operational issue, but this is my priority. But I can't be doing that
all the time.
and it's not my job to do that every day as a Minister of Transport to check on those things. So I put in place a KPI. I put in place a system to monitor them. So that's my role as Minister.
Is it fair to say that the Ministry of Transport receives more complaints than any other ministry?
I mean, I think in Malaysia, every ministry will receive complaints, right?
Okay. Anyway, sorry. I think we really have to.
I guess so. Then building on this question, YB, then I'm asking you the next question is not as Minister of Transport, but with your hat as Secretary General of the DAP. We're a very interesting time. We're coming up to the state elections very, very soon. You are now more than what should be halfway of your current term in government. What would you say are your biggest focuses over the next 2 years or however many years until the next general election arrives? And where do you think your priorities will be in your current role leading up to that point?
For DAP, not for the Ministry of Transportation.
For
DAP. As the DAP, yes.
Yeah.
As leader of...
As a DAP, of course, we have to continue to ensure that, firstly, all the portfolios that are headed by the DAP must continue to perform well, to give a proper report card. What have we achieved in the respective portfolio? Okay, that's first. Of course, the first layer. The 5 ministries that we are heading, and the deputy ministers that we are in ministries.
How prihatin are you with regard to the other 4 ministries that are
of course
held by your colleagues?
My colleagues, of course, we did discuss. I mean, we did discuss it, and we know, for example, we have to ensure that all these are integrated, and all these are actually very well related as well. For example, digital is talking about infrastructure as well. Digital is also infrastructure. Okay, human resource is about how the economy grow, and in terms of welfare of the workers. Okay, youth and sports is about the development of youth. And then you have this KPKT. KPKT also infrastructure. A lot of infrastructure on the ground at the city level, at the local level. So all this, and housing. So all this are part and parcel of whether or not we can improve life, the standard of living of people.
Okay.
So this is one important part of our job. Of course, there's a larger context to it. That as a government, how do we fare? Okay? Is a country heading towards a better direction?
Yes.
So we have to answer these questions to the public, and we have to convince the public, under the current government, we are heading to a better direction. is the right direction that we are heading.
Okay.
Have we made improvement over the last few years? So then you have to convince the people. Are we better off after this government? Yes, we have weaknesses, we have challenges, but a few parameters that we can tell people, we are more stable, okay, in comparative to probably many other countries.
7 years,
The last 3 years are more stable than compared, say, the past 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Our ringgit has strengthened.
Okay.
We still have economic growth, GDP growth. In terms of welfare of the people, are we taking care of the welfare of the people? Can we contain the cost of living? Okay. So are you seeing more job opportunities? So those are the things which is very practical, very personal to everyone. This is something that we have to convince. Yes, they are still work in progress. There are still a lot of weaknesses. There are still a lot of challenges, but we have made improvement and we are heading to the right direction.
Okay, but if we're talking about sort of more pragmatic stuff like, okay, are people's lives getting better and all these things, dari segi, is there still a consideration of what the vision is of the DAP in the next short term, medium term, long term? Because kalau kita sebut pasal benda yang pragmatic saja, I mean, life was pretty good for Malaysians under BN rule for the first 60 years of Malaysia time. Tapi adakah DAP...
Maybe 50 years lah. Last 10 years not so good lah.
Adakah DAP cuma nak jadi the MCA of the current new government?
No, of course, no. I mean, our vision is very, very clear under the Madani framework, which is aligned with what we aspire to. Firstly, we want to have, a corrupt-free country. That we want to tackle the corruption at its core. We want to make sure that better governance, good governance of the government, better delivery of services to the public, and better life for everyone. And most importantly for the DAP is that we want to continue to pursue an inclusive society. We want to maintain our diversity. So this is what we aspire and what we stand for. So, of course, we know the challenges out there, the political challenges out there is that we are facing with conservative forces. We are facing with forces which we want to dictate our way of life, to curtail on diversity. And this is something which we have to fight back.
I guess then how would you convince orang ramai pasal your commitment to this agenda reformasi bila kita tengok contohnya kita dah pulang kembali ke zaman pencantuman Kementerian Kewangan dengan Perdana Menteri. Kita dah pulang kepada zaman tiada lagi asset declaration seperti mana pernah dibuat pada ketika dulu. Kita dah pulang kepada zaman di mana contohnya direct negotiations masih boleh berlaku.
Well, firstly, direct negotiation is not a norm. Okay, kebanyakan, as far as I know, in Ministry of Transport and many other ministries, all our public, open tender. In terms of, you katakan kalau good governance, we have Fiscal Responsibility Act, for example. Okay, a lot of expenditure are subject to the Parliament. More parliamentary accountability. Okay, Prime Minister's questions time. I mean, the PM have to answer in Parliament on a weekly basis. More oversight by Parliament. These are major reform too, and we make that institutionalize it into standing orders. What you mentioned just now, okay? How this Parliamentary Select Committee came about? It came about during Ismail Sabri time, and that is a condition under the MOU between opposition and Ismail Sabri. Remember that, right? I was part of the negotiation team. Okay, we say that what we wanted, okay, because at the time, too frequent changes of PM 3 times in 3 years, and then suddenly Ismail Sabri came about to become Ismail Sabri became Prime Minister. Then there are people from the government reach out to me, reach out to PH. Of course, I was one of the earlier one that they reached out to from the DAP. We discussed. So how do we ensure the stability of the government? Okay, we have a ceasefire. We have an MOU. MOU come with condition that, of course, we will be criticized too at the time. They say, oh, you are sell out. Why do you support this backdoor government? I say, we are very practical. Do you want to see changes of government every 2 months? Right? You can't do that, right, for the country. Then we said, okay, we keep you as Prime Minister for a certain period of time until the next election, but come with condition. You must do some certain reform. You must give us constituency allocation. You must do this parliamentary committees, have more select committees and all that. And you have to do this anti-hopping law, which he delivered, right? To be fair to Dato Sri Ismail Sabri. Yes, as far as I'm concerned, I want to get things done more than what you shout about. If you should shout about and you can't get things done, what's the point? Right? As far as I'm concerned. Okay, I know that there are people who disagree with me, but I show you what I am. This is my leadership approach. I want to get things done. I am the big proponent of the ceasefire. I'm a big proponent of the MOU. Within the DAP, there are people who oppose it. They say, oh, you are being sold out. You just want to take the allocation. I said, yes, I want to take the allocation because for the benefit of my people. Okay? If you can shout about talking about principles or talking about, say, I don't want to work with this backdoor government. But your people will suffer. Okay. You are denying the resources. Okay? But the moment I go into the negotiation table, I got certain things, certain concession by the then government. The benefits are the constituents. And so to answer your question, yes. Okay, say for example, the oversight of parliament. Okay, it was a ad hoc thing, okay, set up by the government, but we institutionalize it under this government. Okay. So one key reform in parliament, which people tend to say that reformati, that kita tak ada reformasi. We put the parliamentary oversight under the standing order. So in future, whoever becomes a government, they have to respect this. There's this oversight of parliament, what we call as a special select committee. Okay? Select committee based on ministry right now. Okay? And besides PAC headed by the opposition. PAC headed by the opposition started during PH time. Right? You cannot say that there is no changes over the last few years after PH took over. Check and balances, Public Accounts Committee is one of the most powerful committee. Right now headed by opposition. Yeah. Of course, being in government, you said whether I like it or not, I don't like it. Yeah. I don't like it, but that's the fact of life. That is something which, of course, is good and healthy for working democracy.
I guess I'm then curious if the main goal is pragmatism and getting things done to make lives of the average rakyat better. Are there lines that you will be drawing for yourself? For instance, is there a line with regard to not working with a party, for instance, that's being led by someone who was at one point charged with 47 counts of corruption and whose case was dropped in the court of law before he was able to...
Okay, maybe you just point it out directly. You don't have to hide your questions, right? Okay, you say Zahid doesn't suit Zahid Amidi.
Sure. Is pragmatism the main
But let me ask you again. Let me ask you again. And let me tell you. On the night of the election day, whoever knows us, call us. Your only choice is to work with UMNO. Okay? Among the Chinese. Among the Chinese businessmen. Among the Chinese community. Do whatever you need. But ensure that you form the government. At the point of time. Yeah. Okay? After that, of course, people whack us, or why you give up your principle, why you work with these people, why you work with this party, which you have been opposing and all that. But, at that point of time, under that circumstances, of course, we have to be pragmatic about it. Okay? I mean, I no apologies for that.
Going back to pragmatism, do you think that partnership will affect you in the next election?
Well, again, that is something which I can't tell right now. Whether or not, I mean, certain things in politics, sometimes you cannot be looking back all the time. Right? In politics, my philosophy is simple. Okay? You must be able to make decision. You must be daring to make decision. Okay? You have to face the consequences of the decision as a leader. If my answer to that is very simple. It's up to the people to decide. This is what we have, what we are, what we have been doing. We show to you, we try to convince you. At the end of the day, if you don't accept it, if you don't buy our argument, you have a choice. If I'm being rejected, I just put in my resignation. Right?
So it's the decisiveness that's important.
To me, that is the most important.
The decisiveness and asalkan the benefit of the rakyat is at the priority.
As long as I said, I'm a party leader right now, the section of the DAP. I won't hold any regrets. I will be responsible of whatever decision I made. Okay? At the end of the day, if I cannot carry the party, I cannot convince the public, my only way is to step down. Yeah. Okay. As simple as that.
It's very clear. I think I understand where you're coming from.
All right. Well, with that, thank you for being the first active minister that's been on our podcast. We've only had fired ministers before this. Okay. No knock to them. They've been great fired ministers. But thank you for being the first active minister on our podcast. Thank you, Abby.
And
thank
I keep smiling in your program.
A little bit angry this now.
Not to say, I was never angry. It's just to stress on my point.
We need to take one selfie of him smiling on.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening on this podcast, on this episode of Siapa Makan, CIli. If you guys have any future guests, if you guys have any future guests or questions you'd like us to ask, please leave it in the comments. And as always, keep it on Chili Sauce for all the current issues. Tambah pedas.
Bye-bye. Terima kasih, YB.
Thank you.
Thank you.